Hello, welcome to the Turret of Pleasure here in the Enchanted Kingdom of Hermione. I'm your host, Zip Gun, the Lord Chamberlain of the Enchanted Kingdom. The Empress is somewhere out with the dogs today. And today we're going to do an edition of I Am That Sucker. And this is going to be a serious I Am That Sucker. Many tentacles. And as we've documented in other I Am That Sucker videos, I really am a sucker for a box set. Especially if it's somebody who I really like, have a lot of respect for, preferably will play it a lot. Some of them I play more than others. Some of them it's just nice to own them. But sometimes they're just the perfect thing for the moment. And back when I was young, I was a rock and roll kid. Grew up on rock and roll, Motown. Discovered jazz in about 1969. Never really discovered classical music until my friend Tony Stark and his dad Jim introduced me to Vivaldi and Boccherini. And I sort of started getting into classical music in the mid-70s while I was really into prog rock. And then I was in an accident where I got stuck in the hospital for a few months. And so I had no music. And so all I had was the AM radio, which in 1976 was not good in this part of the world. And so I was really jonesing for some good music and had one of those tiny little TVs with the earplug. And so one night, Evening at Symphony came on. There was Michael Tilson Thomas with a quartet of pianists, and they're doing Stravinsky's Les Noces. And I'll tell you what, it blew my mind. My poor music-starved teenage body looking for anything. The only thing I could listen to was the song Love is the Drug once or twice a day on the local radio. And that was it. It was like a musical wasteland. Anyways, I absolutely loved this piece of music. And so the first thing I did when I got out of the hospital, pretty much, is we went to Vancouver. I went to the biggest record store in Vancouver, and I just went and said, I want Les Noces by Stravinsky. Well, we have it over here, said the clerk. And he sold me this one. Now this remains my favorite record of all time. And it is a version of Stravinsky's Les Noces. But it was he did it three different ways. He did it the way that it was always played, which is four pianos, singers, percussion ensemble. But there was also the version on this record, the 1947 version? Anyway, no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Les Noces for solo voices, chorus, and orchestra. Now this one's never really been recorded. And this was done just after Stravinsky died by Robert Kraft, who did a lot of records with him in his later years. And this is almost a Stravinsky conducts Stravinsky, but not quite, because the great man was sadly gone by then. But it's a great tidying up of this piece, because the second side features the first half of it that Stravinsky reorchestrated for player pianos, cymbalums, harmoniums, percussion, and all the singers. Very weird version. Never had another version. That's never been recorded like that, to my knowledge, since and before. And so you've got the orchestral version, and you've got the whacked out player piano version, which leaves the four piano version. And that one I have in this box set. Now, when this box set came out, this solved a lot of problems for me, because I got into Stravinsky, like I say, in the 70s. And I discovered quickly that Stravinsky had a contract, it seemed, with Columbia Records, and part of that was that they would record every piece of his with him conducting. And my 16-year-old record collecting self went, "What a great idea! I'm going to buy all these." So out I went searching for them. Now, by 1976, 7, a lot of these were getting hard to get, hard to find. And I bought a few here and a few there, but there was a lot of them. And some of them pretty obscure. Anyways, imagine to my delight, in 1981, the 100th anniversary of Mr. Stravinsky's birth, Columbia Masterworks saw fit to put out his, quote, recorded legacy. And this is the day I bought it. I bought this the day it came out, 1981. It's fucking heavy. I've been lugging it around. I took this home with another 30 records on top of it the day I bought this. An eventful day for my record collecting because a local record store had flooding damage and they had a huge, super cheap sale the day I picked this up. So the one day I think I took a cab. So anyway, this came out. And this is absolutely to die for if you're a vinyl junkie. And I'm going to take it apart because I haven't done this in a while. Every so often I do it just to admire how lovely it looks. But it's hard to get out. I'm going to do this. The box is quite dirty. It's been sitting up on a shelf for a while. And the plastic thing on the front is a pain. Come on. I don't want to get this too dirty. It does not want to come out. So I just got to do it this. You really are being a bitch. So this is the box it came in, shipped in. And it actually has, you can't see it because it's kind of printed funny, but it actually says Igor Stravinsky, 1882-19. What's his dates? 1882-1982 is, I guess, the sort of name of this box set. And there you have it. The beautiful, beautiful cloth-bound black tray. Great picture of Igor on that side. Older picture, very famous picture on the other side. But it's cloth-bound. It's in great shape because I wisely kept the box. And this is actually pretty much perfect. Other than this chunk of the box keeps falling off. And I've glued it a half dozen times. It doesn't want to stay. So I kind of, what did I do? I dropped it somewhere. Anyway, the top's already starting to break again. So what do you get for your complete recorded legacy? Well, this was great. This was the best possible analog. If you're an analog vinyl nut, if you just gotta have it on vinyl, you're gonna like this box. Now they came out with a couple of interesting things which I thought were great. They came out with cards, Opus Stravinsky, and there is your alphabetical list of pieces, and it tells you which one of these it's on, and that cross references with this one. So if you want to know where Les Nos is, what's it under? It's under Nos, N for Nos. It's got a little circle, 10. You go over here, what's on 10? Wait a minute. Does it actually work that way? Oh, there we go, yeah. 10. Oh, weird. Anyway, that's kind of neat. Helps you find your, it helps you navigate this thing. This is basically, with a very few exceptions. There's a trumpet fanfare and there's something else. This is everything Stravinsky ever wrote, and thanks to the wisdom of Goddard Lieberson, he decided, and I don't know the exact story, I'm still trying to research it, but he basically decided to make Stravinsky the same as like Miles Davis, a Columbia artist that they recorded everything Stravinsky wrote, and most of them recordings were from about maybe the mid 50s to the mid 60s. Early Columbia stereo orchestras were kind of interesting. There was a lot of weird orchestras. There were, now let me think here, here's the book. This comes, of course, like all good box sets, with a kind of a master list. Beautiful book. So they really pulled out the stops on this. Vera Zorina Lieberson is the executive producer. She does a liner note. Her late husband also, I believe, puts in a liner note. There's a chronology. It's all in 3 languages. Some photos. There you go. The great man conducting. This is more. It's mostly just a timeline here. Yeah, tribute by Goddard Lieberson, 1971, and so the package is exquisite, and the books, the records themselves are grouped into various, genres, types, piano, solo and duo. Now they're all, other than the Rake's Progress box for the opera, they're all double albums with a inside thing in 3 languages, brief descriptions of the pieces, full-on credits as to who is on them, credits to who produced them, no engineering credits. Or are there? Wait a minute. No. There's a pretty good amount of information, not everything. I don't think there's location. Now, okay, now we're getting to the nub of things. The actual vinyl itself is about as good as vinyl gets anywhere in the world. So what we got here is you got custom labels. They all had custom labels. They are dead flat. They are not 180 gram vinyl. They're made in Holland. And I'm assuming they're made in Holland by, made in Germany. I stand corrected. Made in Germany. I thought all this time they were Dutch. I love German vinyl. I think it's the best vinyl. Unless maybe Swiss. These are as good as a vinyl record as you're ever going to get it to sound. They were top of the line analog recordings in the late 50s, early 60s. If you're into analog, it just doesn't get any better than this. Now, yeah, the vinyl is what vinyl lovers tell you vinyl sounds like. And they're right, except that they're lying a little bit, because it only sounds like it when you get tapes that are as good as these, pressings that are as good as these, small runs of vinyl. It's just great. Now, I've had this, like I say, since 1982 is when I bought it. And played the devil out of it, played the devil out of my version of Les Noces. Everything here was done by CBS except for, I just had it out, I do believe, no, this is all, so there's a very small amount of stuff in this box that is from the 30s. That they got from EMI. and they licensed it or whatever from EMI. I wish. What the heck is it again? Huh. I can't find it. Somewhere in here. Chamber music, maybe? At any rate, because they wanted to keep the mandate of Stravinsky does Stravinsky, they had to use recordings of Stravinsky performing on the piano. And wouldn't you know it, I had this. It's in this box because it's for completeness sake, it has to be there. But wouldn't you know that I actually had the Duo Concertant? That's what I got to look up. Here we go. This is the only 78 record I still own. And I own it because this is an original issue of the piece that's actually in here. There's your booklet. Columbia Records. Now, how cool is this? You got the booklet. It's got, tells you what's on the set, if you will. Really stiff little notes. Numerical list of Columbia Musical Masterworks album sets. On the inside, electrical recording. Yeah. Now, the great thing is it's two different sized records, and they're on blue vinyl. I mean, how cool is that? These are in pretty much perfect shape, it looks like. Doesn't look like anybody's ground down the bottom of them. Love to play. These have been played once or twice in the last, couple of decades. There you go, there's the 12-inch. Duo Concertant. Duo Concertant. So anyway, there you go. Sort of a diversion, but I just thought it was cute to drag that out. The other cool thing I have is the only pre-recorded tape I own anymore is my version of Les Notes done by Mr. Ernest Ansermet and the Swiss Romande Orchestra. And I think we played this once. I think it's just so cool. There's the label and everything. Wow. And these were a viable alternative for a hot minute in the 60s. And anything on this, the Beatles all came out on reel-to-reel tape. But having Les Notes on reel-to-reel tape is cool. Anyway, yeah, so where's my Duo Concertante? Oh. Let's see, let's look it up. It's on number 2, okay. So I had it in my greasy little hands. There you go. Doesn't make much of a noise. Interesting. They don't say much about it being licensed from EMI. But apparently it is. And there was a Seraphim Stravinsky record in the 70s that had that stuff on it. That was kind of interesting. So there's your basic overview. I think it's a wonderful, lovely thing. I've enjoyed it since I bought it, 1982. Apparently it's worth money. I keep seeing numbers like $750 Canadian, which is, great, whatever. I'm not going to sell it. And I'm glad that I kept this bloody box. Because the cloth-bound thing on the outside is prone to getting dirty. And I flashed on that pretty quick. And I was on the verge of throwing this big box out. And I went, wait a minute. If I cut a notch in it, I can use it as a protective sleeve. As you can see, this has seen its fair share of ugly crap. Oh, there's the piece. Stuck to it. Okay, there's the missing piece. Someday I'll glue it back together again. But not anytime soon. Now, the thing that kind of triggered this video isn't so much that this is a great box set and it fits into my insanity about box sets, but I just had my New Year start off rather lovely fashion. There it goes. Never to return, to emerge. It's really heavy. I can't remember what it weighs, but it's a lot. Stick this thing in there. Now, again, the reason I bring this up is a friend of mine, who I haven't actually seen now for a few years, 7 years maybe. A guy by the name of Ron Gretzinger. And I met him in 1995 when his band Kaidai Azam recorded in my studio. And Rob is a nice guy. He is literally without vice, at least compared to me. And so he had all this spending money, and he would buy drums, and he would buy percussion stuff. And then he started buying gongs. And Rob is the gong man. And if you look him up, I'm pretty sure he's all over YouTube with his videos of gongs. He plays the gongs in a state of nature. And I don't mean he's naked, I mean he's out in nature. And they're pretty cool. And he's a really sweet guy. And just out of the blue, he said he was downsizing and was going to get rid of some stuff. And he says, would I like this? And I said, well, yeah, I'd like this. And, of course, what this is the CD version of this. And complete with the shipping box, again, which is silly. I don't know what they were thinking. And it comes in its little thing. It's not as ornate as the other thing. Again, this user-friendliness is not a huge priority of these boxes. This one is really a bitch. If you really, really want to take it out, and you might once or twice in your lifetime, there it is. It doesn't have a front, so you got to be careful or everything will just spill its guts all over the place. So there's your shipping box. Yay. Now this has been out this came out in 91. So this is pretty old school. Look at that. Igor's signature, Sony classical. No mention, of course, of Masterworks or any of that kind of stuff. Now, it comes with the big fat book. Now, the book is pretty much a dead lift off of this book. It's, I don't think anything's missing. I think all the pictures are in there, in fact. I think they really went out of their way. It's in 3 languages, 4 languages. So I think this is pretty damn near a literal copy of that book. You don't get the fancy charts, which, believe it or not, I miss. The graphics are very similar to the record covers. The backs are all very typical 1991 Sony Classical. They have this kind of rigorous, identifiable font that they used. They do give you the original producers. They have been remixed for compact disc, it says here. Now, okay, these are the horrible CDs, right? So Zip, how do they sound in comparison to the fabulous analog? You know what? I don't have that much time left in my life. So I figured I would pick the version of Les Noce on this. Because I played it fairly recently. And so I A-beat Les Noce. And on the entirely non-scientific JVC quadraphonic stereo that we have set up downstairs, but I got a good turntable and a good cartridge. And you know, I mean, it's true, with a record like this, and a good cartridge, and a good turntable, and a not half bad front end on your power amp, vinyl can sound wonderful. And this as good as vinyl's ever going to sound is this stuff. I was shocked at just how similar this was. The only way I could tell them apart was that when you went to the vinyl, you'd hear the artifacts, the odd tick, the odd swish. You don't hear that with the CDs. Other than that, they are dead similar. So I got this now, which I can play, and I can crush it and put it in my car and all that other stuff. And then I got this guy, which I can now put back in his corner, because you really got to want to play this to pull it out and take it all apart. And this isn't a whole lot easier, although I find that if you put it in the box with the open end facing up, then it's not such a hassle. But it's still a hassle. So. And yeah, and if you want some good prog rock, Kite Azam, look them up. They did this one, and they did this one. My friend Jeremy Turner, Eric, and Robbie Retzinger. Wonderful guy. Thanks so much for the present. Thanks for thinking of me. Stuff like that makes your day. And so I'm happily sitting here playing Stravinsky for the next foreseeable future. So, what was the last thing? Oh yeah, there was a great review on Amazon. There was a lot of talk about these being not the last word in Stravinsky because Stravinsky wasn't his own best conductor. There's a lot of talk about stuff like that. And some of it might be true. I find that the obscure stuff sounds perfect. And stuff like the Rite of Spring, yeah, I've probably got a different Rite of Spring I'd play if I want to play one. Or the Firebird or Petrushka. I like Petrushka by Boulez. But anything that's a little off the beaten track, I'll take Igor's version. So, for a Stravinsky nut, this is a real must-have. There's a budget version of this now. I think it's $75. And it doesn't have some of the stuff. But for $75 for 22 CDs, that's not a bad deal at all. And you won't have to ever buy another Stravinsky CD, that's for sure. But yeah, my Stravinsky was my favorite composer forever. He's still one of my very favorites. So having something like this, I am that sucker. You know I'm gonna buy it. I mean, come on. And like I say, I almost bought the cheap version of this just because. But instead now a buddy of mine gave it to me. So there you have it. Wonderful. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this isn't too weird and boring for the hard rock crowd. I'm not putting down a band like Chicago today, so nobody's gonna watch. But if you like this kind of thing, subscribe, hit the notification button, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.